Okay, friends, I'm back for the longer part of my video to explain some of my artwork that I couldn't do in the short video. But anyway, let's get on with it. Let's start with some of my early work. These are pencil drawings I did. This is my son, age 4 or 5. And I love working in black and white pencil. To me, black and white pencil is underrated. You could do so much with the depths and values of pencil drawings. I actually teach a pencil drawing class at my gallery on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8:30 if you're interested in Colonial Heights Side Street Gallery. But I have seen so many pencil drawings done with 1 or 2 pencils, like a number 2 pencil, and they try to bear real hard to make things dark or barely touch the paper, very light to make things light with 1 pencil. Well, pencils come in all sorts of shades, from the dark tones you see in his pants in the reel, to the lighter tones in his shirt and his face, and the medium tones in the trees back behind him. And you have to know which tool to use to make a proper drawing and to get the right contrast between lights and darks. I'll skip over this one for just a moment. Come on down here to my other. This is one of my favorite ones. I really love the drawing that I did of my son in this little barrel. So I'm sorry for the shakiness of this video. I'm trying to hold it as steady as I can. But anyway, here's one more I did. This is my son in the baseball cap with his 5th birthday party. There's my son there. And his friends at his party. So, and now this is actually what convinced me I can do Santa Claus. I did Santa Claus this past year. This is my granddaughter. And I love the lighting in this one. It was a photograph that was actually taken by my son's mother-in-law at his house. And my granddaughter, Scarlett, love you, Scarlett. She and I were looking at photographs on my phone. And I just took that. When I saw the photograph, I could just imagine me. I was in a red Hawaiian shirt. I could just imagine me as Santa looking at a Night Before Christmas book. So anyway, that's a very personal painting of mine, and I will make sure that she gets it when she gets older. So. And now we're going down to a series I've started. I've only got 2 done now, and I'm planning to do more. But here's my first one. This is real horses on a carousel. And in that, first of all, I looked up, horses on the internet and looking for carousel painting with live horses. Could not find any. So the closest I found to it was someone did a painting of a carousel and one horse was jumping off the carousel and it was turning into a real horse. But this is the first time I've ever seen anybody do real horses on a carousel. Notice I did not shish kebab any of them with the poles. And you can see up top, I put some of my heroes from Clint Eastwood, Josie Wales. There's Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. Zorro and Sergeant Garcia, my childhood heroes here. There's the Lone Ranger and Tonto. And if you come down to the middle of the painting, you can see there's Paladin from Have Gun Will Travel and John Wayne, Hondo. Okay? Now, it's difficult to see, but right here is a reflection of another painting. And it's upside down. So I'll turn my camera upside down. Maybe you'll see it right side up. It is actually Cleavon Little sitting on horseback from Placing Saddles. Let's rotate back around and pull back out. Whole picture again. And now we'll go up to my second one I did. I really enjoyed doing this one. I chose a stagecoach being robbed by bandits and they're all running in a circle. Okay, I put a painting on the side of the stagecoach that is Monument Valley. You can see me actually in the window of the stagecoach shooting back at the bandits. And up top of the stagecoach and the other horses. Now, if you look carefully at my other paintings, okay, I did some Western scenes. You see a howling wolf. You'll see a sheriff, Texas Ranger actually, a longhorn steer. There's Matt Dillon from Gunsmoke, okay? The Mustangs, Wyatt Earp, the Buffaloes of the West, and one of my favorite heroes. There's Corporal Agarn from F Troop, an elk. And just come on back out. I love putting little details in my painting. So here is this one for you to see. Now let's move around the corner. And we'll come across one I did during Desert Storm. Back in the early 90s when we were fighting in Iraq. As the war's going on, I heard horror stories on the news about banks foreclosing on homes and businesses of reservists that were serving in time of war. So I did this painting, or drawing actually, it's a color pencil drawing, to help raise money for the American Red Cross, earmarked for military troops and their families. I was very proud when General Schwarzkopf was actually presented with the print of this drawing here. Now, if you saw the shorter video, you heard this is a friend of mine's father, and he was a P-51 pilot in World War II. And this is his wife, painted on the front of the plane. I just thought the idea of that was just absolutely wonderful. So here's my B-17, 91st Bomb Group in England. You can see the artist up on the ladder painting the girl inside a plane. I'd say 80-90% of the planes in World War II had pin-up girls on them. You can see the pin-up girl painted on the back of his jacket. And over here is the model talking to a couple of the not enlisted men. The enlisted men are relegated to the rear. She's talking to the officers. And I call this piece Flyboy Fantasy because everything in this painting is historically accurate except for one detail, and that is a detail of her. She would not have been there. But if she had been there, she'd have been talking to the officers, and the enlisted men would have been relegated to the rear. So now this piece here is very dear to my heart. This is my father's ship, the USS Caldwell, in World War II, off the Philippines. And this is December the 11th, 1944. You can see a kamikaze up here coming down on my father's ship. I want to show you, see this puff of smoke in the background? A puff of smoke was the USS Reed. As another destroyer in this convoy. That ship, my father said he saw that ship go down. Kamikazes hit the magazine and split the ship in half, and it went down within 60 seconds. Now, my father's battle station, you see the front two 5-inch guns here. Well, he was in the number 4 5-inch gun in the rear, below waterline, passing up ammunition. So his battle stations was below the waterline and could not have seen that go down if it hadn't happened so suddenly and fast. But the Marine in the Corsair flying air cover saw the trouble the ship was in. He was down on the deck and flew masthead height right over the ship, straight up into the kamikaze. So they don't know whether it was actually the Marine or the ship's own gunfire to either kill the kamikaze or disable the plane so it could maneuver, because the plane actually crashed 20 feet on this side of the ship, crossed right over a bridge, scattering gas and debris all over the ship. Now, the next day, my daddy's ship was not so lucky. They had 2 bombs dropped up front, killing everybody in the number 2 gun. And then the kamikaze barrel rolled and came back down and hit the ship right in the middle of the bridge. And it killed 30-some of my father's friends on board ship. I can't imagine. They were all laid out on the back fantail of the ship after the battle was over. And my father come up, emerged there to see his friends and all the blood over there. I couldn't imagine going through that, and my father did. God bless him. Now, the ship did not sink. It still was able to maneuver and went back to San Francisco for repairs. Well, my mother traveled from here in Virginia out to San Francisco to visit my father. And she came back home with an extra package. My sister was born on the day my dad was discharged from the Navy. So my sister can thank her life to that kamikaze pilot. Now we're going to something totally different. This is actually Florence, Italy. And being a historical artist, I take this back in time a little bit. You can see the carriages on the bridge and not cars. It was around the turn of the 20th century. And I actually took a photograph. I work a lot from a lot of photographs I take. And one morning I was rushing to get to the bus station to catch a bus to go down to Pisa. And as I was passing the river here, the buildings were all lit up with the sunlight, and I snapped a few pictures really quick, and I got back and looked at them. I thought one of them would make a magnificent painting. So here's this. Now back over here to my 9/11 piece. God bless all of those. I'll never forget the people that were lost and the families from 9/11 that put us in this almost never-ending war that we're in now in Afghanistan and Iraq. But I had to do something. And I came up with this idea. This is actually, I think, a vision I had that the Lord gave me the morning after 9/11. I woke up on September 12th, and I saw this in my mind's eye and picked up a sketch pad and drew it really quick. You see the firefighter and the policeman. I represent all those that were rushed into the buildings as all the other people were leaving the buildings. And many of them sacrificed their lives trying to help others. You see the family at the bottom in front of the Statue of Liberty, representing the American family trying to move beyond the tragedy. And while I'm here, you also see the Pentagon, now part of the New York City skyline, damaged, hit by the plane. But there are firefighters and police on the roof of the Pentagon putting the American flag up. And as all superimposed over top of American flag with the rays of sun coming down from the heavens, representing my image of God bless America. And of course, you see the World Trade Centers standing tall, as we'll always remember them standing tall. And the eagle in the sky represents the people that were on Flight 93. I have presented 338 of these framed to every single police station, every single fire station in the entire city of New York. I love those people up there. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Confederate, but God, I love those people up there. And I wish them all the luck in the world, and I'll never forget. And this is just a drawing rather, that I did from Engine 55, actually in Little Italy, in New York. And I put 3 generations of firefighters down here. The grandfather, the father, and the son, all members of FDNY, and dropping a bucket of water on them. I don't think I have ever met a firefighter that hasn't had a bucket of water dumped on him. Let me turn around now. And once again, this is my paintings from Florence, Italy. Okay? And in the middle is my homage to all the great masters. Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Rembrandt, and all the unknowns throughout the centuries that have used their talents that God gave them to create masterpieces. And you can see I have chosen some down here to go in. Now, David is actually in an archway like this if you have never seen him. But he's shorter than what I have him depicted here. He only comes up to about his chest, although he is 17 feet tall, very impressive looking. But I thought all the blank panels behind him would make great frameworks for artwork. So here are some of the other great masters of the world. My homage to the great masters. I call this one the epitome. Well, the first time I went to Florence, down the hallway from David, it's a sculpture gallery. I fell in love with all the sculptures in there. And so from a photograph that I took, I did this painting of myself in the middle of the statues. You go back down to this one for a moment. You see, the painting that I'm doing there did not actually exist until the next year. This piece here is actually the painting that I'm doing in this painting. You can see the same large statue in the background. And I think those statues are, like I keep saying, magnificent. And then over here past David, there's an outside scene in Florence. Perseus, the statue, slewing Methuselah. And you see the location where David's statue first was. This is a reproduction now. They moved him indoors to keep the acid rain from damaging him. And then down this one. I had fun with this one. You can tell that the mother is not quite as excited as the little boy. I call this one Discoveries. And the description I have is no explanation necessary. So, but now I'm going to go back to 3 of my paintings and show you something fun I did in them. There's something you've probably not paid much attention to, but if you look at the bust up here, you'll see the entire Star Trek crew of the original Star Trek, from Spock, Kirk, McCoy, Scotty, Uhura, Sulu, Chekhov, Nurse Chapel, Yeoman Rand, and Gene Roddenberry. And this one, I call this one a classical fife, because the statues on the bust up here, you'll see Barney Fife, Andy, Opie, Aunt B, Thelma Lou, Helen, Floyd the Barber, Otis the Drunk, the Darlings, Gomer, Goober. Up top is Ernest T. Bass and Ellie Walker, Andy's first girlfriend. Just having fun with my artwork. And if you look at the bust back on this one, you will see the Leave It to Beaver crew, from Beaver, Wally, Eddie, Larry Mondello, to his parents, his teacher, Mrs. Landers, and Fred Rutherford. Anyway, now to some of the travels that I've made around the world. This is Yellowstone. I actually put myself as an old mountain man, and I took one of the best tours I ever took in my life. I took a sunrise photographic tour of Yellowstone. And with the professional photographer, it took you some of the best places to take photographs as the sun rises. And this one I call Mountain Spirit. I really like this piece of mine. It's just so grabbing. I love his face, and I love his headdress, and all the beadwork I put on him. Over here, So once again, from one of my travels, last year I was in Arizona and went to Sedona, along with many other places. Arizona is a beautiful, beautiful state. I love the rocks out there. But I took this photograph and I thought it would make a magnificent painting. Now, of course, the cowboy was not there, the fire, the horse, or even the herd of cattle down there. I call this one Outrider's Last Cup. And, of course, a lot of people know me for my Civil War artwork. This is Colonel Willie Pegram here, giving his final command to fire your canisters low before he was mortally wounded, taken from his horse. This is a Union dismounted cavalryman coming through the woods in the background. Of course, Five Forks in April of 1865 is the loss for the Confederates and the reason that Robert E. Lee evacuated Petersburg, which led to Appomattox and the rebirth of our country. Now, this painting here, or drawing, that's a color pencil drawing. When I heard the story of this one, I had to do this piece. You're looking at General Johnson Haygood here, holding the reins of the horse. Captain Dennis Daly of the 2nd Wisconsin, the Iron Brigade. Now, General Haygood is from South Carolina. And the story behind this one is that the Union Army had cut the South Side Railroad, or leading down to North Carolina to Petersburg, the Weldon Railroad, actually. And Robert E. Lee wanted to recapture it. He sent the Mahone Brigade in to do the job, and attached to the Mahone Brigade was, actually the Mahone Division. Attached to the Mahone Division was General Johnson Haygood's brigade of fewer than 800 South Carolinians. Well, when they went into battle that morning, they had swamp in front of them. So when they finally got through the swamp out into the field in front of the Union breastworks, charging the breastworks, the rest of the Confederates had been repulsed. And these 800 men were out there all by themselves against thousands of Union soldiers. So he tried to turn them and get them back out of danger. But for some reason or other, they continued marching across the field. Well, Captain Dennis Daly, the 2nd Wisconsin, when they got within 50 yards of the Union breastworks, he spurred his horse between an opening of his own line and charged the oncoming Confederates all by himself. Reined his horse up in front of the color bearer of the 11th South Carolina, grabbed the battle flag out of the boy's hand, and demanded the surrender of everybody in earshot. Now, the Confederate officers started arguing with him. Hell no, we're not going to surrender. Haygood, 70 yards down the line, looks down the line and sees this mounted federal officer holding his battle flag. What the heck is going on? He ran the distance to find out. When he gets there, first thing that strikes him is the boy's courage. That's why I call this iron courage, because he was brave. And I also call it Southern chivalry, because Haygood's first words to the boy was, "If you return those colors, we'll allow you to go back to your lines unmolested." The captain said to the general, "Look around you, sir. You're being surrounded. You'll be annihilated if you don't surrender," which was true. But Haygood, thinking enough of this foolishness, grabbed the reins of the horse, pulled his revolver, and said, "One last time, give me those colors or you'll force me to shoot." And that's at the point of the artwork here where Dennis Daly jerked the reins of the horse away from him and said, "Never." Haygood said, "Bang." He shot him. He fell from the horse. Haygood then mounted the horse and turned his brigade with all eyes on him and got him back out of danger. Now, fewer than 300 of the 800 men answered roll call on the other side of the swamp when they got back. But now, this is not the end of the story, so I feel like Paul Harvey telling the rest of the story now. Northern newspapers wrote about the incidents. They talked about the bravery of Captain Daly, how he captured the colors single-handedly, and the cowardice of General Haygood, how he had killed him in cold blood. Well, papers back then are same as papers today. They get some things right and they get some things wrong. What they got right was, yes, the captain was brave. Yes, he captured the colors. And what they got wrong was, no, General Haygood was no coward, and no, he didn't kill him. He survived his wounds. Years go by after the war. The captain goes to apply for his pension. Well, they've got a federal worker sitting in front of him at a desk with a piece of paper looking up his name. He said, "Oh, here you are." He said, "Yeah, you were killed in action." He said, "I was not." He said, "Hey, anybody can concoct a story to get money out of the government. You got to have a witness." So the witness he asked to witness for him was General Haygood, no longer general, but governor of South Carolina. He contacted Governor Haygood. He was elated to find out the boy was still living, told him, "I would be honored to witness for you." He does. The boy gets his pension. Then Haygood turns and invites him to South Carolina. And here are two men on opposite sides of the war. One had even shot the other one and put all the differences behind them and became the best of friends for the rest of their lives. And when the two of them did finally die, they died within 10 days of each other. And I thought that was a remarkable story. And here we are. I call this one Colors of High Tide. You've got the colors of the 57th, the 53rd, and 14th North Carolina. All three of those colors are planted at one of Alonzo Cushing's artillery pieces after they had crossed the stone wall in Pickett's charge. Two of the colors, the 57th and the 53rd, were captured at this point, but the 14th managed to get back across the field safely. But this was the high water mark of the Confederacy. And this battle was so sad here. You've got Spotsylvania, and the Confederates are pushed out of their trenches by the Union attacking, and the Confederates counterattacked, pushed the Union out of their trenches, but they only went on the other side of the wall. And so they continued fighting within 2 or 3 feet of each other all day long in a heavy pouring rain. It was such a horrific battle. And this is the Siege Museum here in Petersburg. I chose it to do at nighttime. I thought it would be more interesting with the lights in the buildings and the moonlight and the street lights. Petersburg had gas street lights through the entire siege of the war. A city worker went around and lit the lights every evening and went around at dawn and put all the lights out. And once again, this is General Robert E. Lee accepting command of the military forces of Virginia. This is General Lee here. He has been congratulated by Governor Letcher. This is April of 1861, April 23rd to be precise. And in here, you have some very important people. Right in the center is, let's see, no, that's not Sandy. Sandy Stewart is back here. I was going to say he was Sandy Stewart, but Sandy Stewart is right here. Beside him is Jubal Early, a future Confederate general. This is Henry Wise, most current past governor of Virginia. Standing beside him, applauding, is President John Tyler. And behind him, applauding, is George Wythe Randolph. And you have the clerk of the court. You have a reporter, Jay Jennings, the president of the court, Matthew Fontaine Maury back here, and Francis Smith, the commandant of VMI at the time. This was actually the secession convention, not the House of Delegates, even though this is in the House of Delegates chambers. You have a painting of Thomas Jefferson up here. But Virginia was an independent republic at this time. They left the Confederacy because after Fort Sumter had been fired on, there was a rally held outside the governor's mansion encouraging Governor Letcher to leave the Confederacy, or not leave it, but leave the Union and join the Confederacy. Well, on April 1st, 1861, this body of men here voted 3-1 to stay in the Union. They saw no reason to leave the Union. But after Fort Sumter was fired on and Lincoln sent a letter to Governor Letcher that he had to put troops into an army he was raising to force the other states back into the Union. They had to do a lot of soul searching, because you look back in time to 1789, before Virginia ratified the Constitution, which Virginia was state number 10, which made it law of the land. Virginia passed a resolution stating that the federal government did anything detrimental to her citizens, she reserved the right to secede. Therefore, they believed that the other states had not done anything illegal and had not done anything that meant sending troops in them to force them back into the Union. So Virginia did a lot of soul searching, and that is the reason Virginia left the Union, because they could not raise their arms against fellow Southerners, forcing them to do something they think they had not done anything wrong. And now I've got the last two pieces from the Revolutionary War. This is the British Army, Cornwallis's army, trooping the colors in front of the Capitol in Williamsburg, reminding the citizens there that they are still citizens of the Crown. And of course, we know what happened in the months after this. Cornwallis was surrounded at Yorktown and forced to surrender. America won its freedom, but before it won its freedom, they had to endure Valley Forge and the harsh winters there, many of the soldiers dying. But this is where they left Valley Forge. They became a well-trained army at Valley Forge, and they had uniforms and weapons provided them by General Lafayette, French citizen or general that came to give his services to this country. Well, anyway, that is my art show. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope I have not bored you too much. I'm sorry for a couple of the flubs, but this is live to me. God bless you, and I wish you could come and see my artwork in person. As a matter of fact, you can. You can come see my artwork at Side Street Gallery in Colonial Heights. Once everything opens back up again to the world, I'll be at the gallery doing more paintings. I've got more there. Last time I did this show in August, I had 125 paintings in here. So my work is a lot more than what you've seen in here. I thank you for your attention. God bless you. Stay safe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.